All rise.
I want viewers watching my show to believe in themselves.
Judge Hatchett is compelling.
I was not the first one to throw a walk.
Let me just tell you what you just said.
Compassionate.
I really enjoy being a judge. Now I am touching people who I will never know I touched.
She's powerful.
You should have never let them walk out of your life when she was 3.
And she's on the bench.
Don't get me preaching up in here today.
Right.
You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. Mark Hill is suing Keith White in the amount of $1,500. Mr. Hill claims he hired Mr. White to help him train for a bodybuilding competition and says his coach sabotaged him by putting him on the wrong diet plan.
All right, Mark, you're in court and you filed a suit against the defendant and you're saying that he did not honor the agreement between the two of you. What happened?
Well, Your Honor, I'm an amateur bodybuilder. I've been so for, I know. It's the classic physique weight class, so it's not based on size. It's more so shape and sculpt.
Okay, because you don't strike me as a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to you, I'm just saying. All right, so you are a novice, is that what you're saying?
Yes, amateur, yes.
Amateur, and you tell me what was happening.
Okay, I had a big competition coming up, and I felt like I needed some help. So I hired Mr. White here to be my coach.
So why did you hire Mr. White?
I'm from a small town, so there aren't many people who are professional lifters or that into fitness. So after doing some research, he has some good experience in the bodybuilding field, and I felt like he could pair with me and give me a better shot to place.
So he had a track record as coaching?
As a bodybuilder himself.
Okay.
He has some clients, but yeah, it was more so his experience as opposed to...
His experience as a bodybuilder?
Yes, as
Okay,
opposed
so
to
he
his
comes
resume.
to you because of your experience as a bodybuilder, is that correct?
More on a coaching level, Your Honor. I do more coaching now. In the past, I was a bodybuilder, but as you can see, the body has faded a little bit. So I'm more of a coach. And so I've been coaching for over the past 10 years. I have many clients. My background from college, football, then I went to the wrestling team. And then as I got older, I decided to take my wisdom and pass it down to the next generation.
All right.
Which I thought I was doing with Mr. Hill.
So he comes to you, and what did you expect him to do?
I expected, all insight, tips, tricks, anything that could help me place, but that's not what I got.
So what was the agreement between the two of you?
The agreement was he was going to train me for the 3 months leading up to the competition, and he was going to devise a customized meal plan, customized workout plan, that type thing to put me in the best position to win.
All right, so now you all enter into this agreement, and what happens?
Well, I had some questions with the meal plan and workout plan. For the first month, my muscle gains were very minimal, if any at all. I brought this to him many times. He continued to tell me, just stick with the plan, stick with the plan. I wasn't getting any detail on why we're doing what or, what was supposed to be the expected result at each time period. Going into the second month, I noticed that my waistline was getting bigger and my muscle mass was continuing to decrease.
That doesn't sound good.
Not at all.
Third month, what happens?
Going into the third month, I found out that he has a relative that was in the same competition, in the same weight class, and he was assisting both of us during that time.
All right, so why was it a problem if he had somebody else that he was coaching in the same competition?
Because I hired him to be my coach and to put me in a place that would, ideally put me above all of the competition.
All right, so now Mr. White, he says that month 1, there are problems. He brought it to your attention. What was your response?
My response was, like I tell all my clients, give it time. It's a program. It's going to take time for the program to work.
Okay, now, did you understand, though, that we only had 3 months on this situation before the competition?
Yes, I did.
And you still took him on as a client?
Yes.
Okay,
definitely.
So you say give it time.
Yes.
So now the second month rolls around. He's still saying that there are issues. He brings them to your attention. What do you say at the second month?
Around the second month, I start to question if he's following the meal plan to the exact T that I set it at.
And so what did you say to him?
The idea was for him to consume 3,000 calories, bulk up, and then as he's exercising, get lean. I don't believe Mr. Hill was following the plan the way I set it.
Were you following the plan the way he said it?
Your Honor, I did everything he told me to do down to the T.
All right, and so you have a witness in. Tell me who your witness is. Please join us.
This is my friend, Alberta. She's a nutritionist and fitness coach as well.
All right, now what do you know about the situation?
Yes, so Mr. Hill came to me after the competition wanting a second opinion on the meal plan to see if there was potentially any misdirection or something fishy going on. I did not know that Mr. White had a relative in the competition, so when I first saw the meal plan and what was stated to have been the ultimate outcome, I was appalled.
Coming up on The Verdict with Judge Hatchett.
I don't really see the relevance of why my brother needs to be brought up. He's achieving the same
So
thing.
he's concerned that you may have sabotaged his plan to give your brother an advantage.
And later,
Now my boyfriend can't see what I grew up with. And I love leaf peeping. This is the whole point of us going there. And I told Babs, I said, there's no leaves. And then she said,
I can't control the weather.
closed captioning provided by. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Mark Hill, who is suing Keith White for intentional harm.
Why were you appalled?
It would be difficult for a seasoned bodybuilder to achieve those results in that amount of time. If I were to take on a client, I would suggest that meal plan over the course of maybe 6 to 8 months. Absolutely not 3 months, and not for somebody that has only been doing this for about a year.
Was there a meal plan that could have prepared him in the 3-month period?
I feel like it was too heavy in the calories in the first 2 months, and the idea that he could cut down the way he needed to in 1 month prior to the competition is unreasonable.
So how do you respond to that, Mr. White?
I respond that it's not an exact science. Everyone's body type is different. Mr. Hill has a different type of body. And so for his witness to come forward and say that my meal plan doesn't work or isn't right,
She said that she reviewed the specific plan that you put Mr. Hill on. And she said that based on her background as a nutritionist, that you couldn't have possibly achieved those results in that amount of time.
well, based on my background on having other clients that have achieved the goal, then that's where I stand as far as it's worked for others. It would have worked for him if he would have given the plan 3 months, but he stopped after 2 months, Your Honor.
Did you stop after 2 months?
I did. I felt like he had a great conflict of interest, and there's no way you can play both sides of the competition.
So
It
tell
was
me
my-
about this relative that you had in the competition.
Your Honor, it was my brother. I'm helping my brother. It doesn't stop me from helping Mr. Hill to shape his body to get ready for the competition. So as long as I gave him what he wanted, I don't really see the relevance of why my brother needs to be brought up as far as if he's achieving the same thing.
Well, I think the suggestion is that he's concerned that you may have sabotaged his plans to give your brother an advantage. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that's what he is suggesting. All right, so did you pay this $1,500 up front
I did.
for 3 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you then say after the second month, this is not working and I want to terminate the plan?
Yes.
So why not give him at least a partial refund on this?
Because, Your Honor, I don't guarantee money back. I gave him my time, I gave him my expertise, and I gave him my knowledge. And I believe I should be compensated for that. And the fact that he was impatient and didn't finish the plan, I don't think that should put the burden on me to return the money in which I got for my services.
He talked about his experiences the first month. Is that typical, the first month, that you would have some client have the kind of results that he had after the first month?
Yeah, Your Honor. Every result is different for every type of body.
So that was on track.
Yes.
Your Honor,
So,
I have...
wait just a second. And then what about the second month?
The second month,
Were those good results?
no, because he was saying he was gaining weight. And so that's where I start to question if he followed my meal plan to the exact as I put it. Because in the second month, that's when he should have started to lean down.
All right, let me hear from you. You were about to tell me something?
Yes, when Mr. Hill came to me, I asked him, after week 1, week 2, because in a 3-month period, you have to be very specific about the results you're achieving in each week. He said that he was expressing concerns from week 2, week 3, and he was kept in the dark. Just stick to the plan, stick to the plan. If I were seeing those results with my client, I would shift some of the caloric intake. I would increase or decrease the weights being used to achieve the results needed. And from what I understand, none of that was happening. And in month 2, knowing that you have 4 weeks to cut down to get competition ready, again, when I reviewed the plan that Mr. White gave Mr. Hill, it appeared to me that he was trying to pull one over on him. Because again, I wouldn't suggest this for even a more seasoned bodybuilder over the course of 7 or 8 months.
So that raises an interesting question, and I'm going to rule on this case. Mr. White, is this plan appropriate for a beginner, or was your plan really more appropriate for somebody who had had a long history in bodybuilding?
To the best of my knowledge, based on my experiences of past clients, that this was the appropriate plan for Mr. Hill.
Was the plan that you gave Mr. Hill the same plan that you would give to a bodybuilder who had been doing this for several years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that answered my question. All right, see, I'm not sure that you had the experience necessary to advise somebody who was a novice. We have a nutritionist here who says that this was not appropriate, and therefore I am going to grant you.
But she doesn't know my background, Your Honor.
Well, but she knew the plan you gave him, and she looked at the plan you gave him, and obviously it didn't work. And so I am going to order.
Because he didn't stick to it, Your Honor.
What?
He didn't stick to the plan.
I did everything
I'm
you told me
sticking
to
to
do.
my verdict. I don't think that he did enough to tweak this program for somebody at your level, and therefore I am awarding the plaintiff $1,500. We'll stand adjourned.
Judge Hatchett has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $1,500.
You knew that plan was never going to work for me. You did it on purpose.
I've used that plan with plenty of clients. If you would have stuck with it, you would have won.
Coming up.
So we put on our hiking boots, we went on a 45-minute hike.
Right?
And we saw no leaves.
No leaves.
No leaves at all.
Closed captioning provided by. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. Maggie Sullivan is suing Babs Lemke in the amount of $650. Ms. Sullivan claims she booked a prime leaf peeping room at the defendant's bed and breakfast, only to find leafless trees when she arrived.
All right, Maggie, you are suing the defendant and you're saying that she owes you $650 because of a trip that did not go well. Tell me what happened.
I grew up in Boston for 10 years, and I enjoy New England leisure activities such as tree tapping, walking the Freedom Trail, and of course, leaf peeping.
Peeping?
Yes.
Leaf peeping. As opposed to going to watch the leaves, it's called leaf peeping?
Yes. I had called around 4 different places around Vermont. She was the only one that had enough leaves on her trees in order for us to enjoy our time.
Okay, so she contacts you, Babs, and tell me what happened, please.
So she told me that she called around, several different places. My bed and breakfast is a little further south Vermont, so there's a little more colorful leaves around that time. I mean, it's not mid-September, which is really ideal for leaf peeping.
Yes, for sure.
But in this case, unseasonably, the leaves were still beautiful, gorgeous, still on the trees.
Tell me how and what she booked.
So she booked a weekend stay, so they decided to come Friday and then leave Sunday.
All right.
For $650.
And what happened when they arrived?
So it was almost midnight. We had discussed about 6 p.m.
Did you still accommodate them for dinner, arriving that late?
I did.
So you all get there and you have this late dinner and get to the part about the leaves. What happened with the leaves?
Coming up.
And I love leaf peeping. This was the whole point of us going there. And I told Babs, I said, there's no leaves. And then she said,
I can't control the weather.
Closed captioning provided by. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Maggie Sullivan, who is suing Babs Lemke for $650.
We were hoping that we would finally be able to go on a hike and see some leaves. So we put on our hiking boots, we went on a 45-minute hike.
Right.
And we saw like no leaves.
No leaves.
No leaves at all.
So did you know that there were no leaves outside when they were coming?
I did not. It had been, well, I did go on this exact same hike 2 days before they came. Gorgeous.
So what happened in the 2 days from it being absolutely gorgeous to there being no leaves on the trees? I'm trying to understand this. What happened?
So unfortunately, there was a little bit of a turn in the weather. It was very windy.
That's pretty dramatic. From you saying, okay, Judge, I was on the same trail 2 days before. It was absolutely gorgeous. And there were lots of leaves to exactly 2 days later, and there are no leaves on the trees?
There were leaves.
So now you get back and there are no leaves. According to you, now both of you are under oath, and you said there are no leaves on the trees. So then what happens?
So there's no leaves on the trees. I immediately run back to her place and I tell her, what is wrong with you? There's no leaves on the trees. And then she says, well, there were some a few days ago when I went on the same exact hike as you. She's like, there is another trail you could take.
So did you go on the other trail?
We did, and while we were there, again, we saw no leaves, and she promised this time. She's like, there has to be leaves there. And then I come back after not seeing leaves again, and I was devastated. I was upset, and now my boyfriend can't see what I grew up with. And I love leaf peeping. This was the whole point of us going there. And I told Babs, I said, there's no leaves. And then she said,
I can't control the weather.
All right, so we have pictures? Do we have pictures?
yes, I actually do have physical evidence. I took pictures on my cell phone. Here you go.
Judge Hatchett's verdict when we return. Promotional consideration provided by. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett.
All right, but you can see lots of trees in the distance, and they all look exactly the same to me. So now what happens? Do you all stay or do you leave?
We left. I was completely offended. I didn't get anything I planned for.
She was screaming at me and making a huge scene, and it turned really ugly, actually.
So,
Yes.
Babs, why not just refund her money? There are no leaves anywhere. There are no leaves. But you also bear some responsibility because you had called a bunch of places to book this. I think that Babs should have taken a proactive stance with you. I think she should have gotten on the phone or text you or email you and said, you know what, I think it's better that you book next season with me because I want you to be a satisfied customer. Babs, under these circumstances, you need to refund her the money. Do I think you ought to give her the whole $650 back? No, but I am going to order that you return $500 under these circumstances. That is my decision. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. We'll stand adjourned.
Judge Hatchett has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $500.
I should have called you, but I promise if you come back next year, there will be leaves.
Honey, I don't trust anything you say.
This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.